The impact of unresolved parental wounds on romantic relationships. The unresolved parental injury, how unconfronted emotional injuries shape romantic relationships through projective identification. When individuals fail to confront emotional injuries inflicted by an opposite-sex parent, unresolved emotions can unconsciously influence their romantic relationships in profound and often destructive ways. One key psychological mechanism that explains this phenomenon is projective identification, a process through which individuals unconsciously project their repressed feelings onto others, particularly intimate partners, who then reflect or react to those feelings. Unresolved emotional injuries from the opposite-sex parent. Early relationships with parents, particularly the opposite-sex parent, serve as templates for future relationships. If emotional wounds from this early attachment are not confronted, they often remain unresolved and influence adult romantic dynamics. This happens through unconscious replication. Individuals are often drawn to partners who exhibit qualities similar to their opposite-sex parent, whether positive or negative. For instance, someone who felt emotionally neglected by their mother may be unconsciously attracted to emotionally distant women, attempting to resolve the early trauma through their partner. Unmet emotional needs. Romantic partners may be unconsciously expected to fulfill emotional needs that were unmet by the opposite-sex parent, leading to unrealistic expectations and disappointment. Hidden resentment. Unaddressed feelings of hurt, betrayal, or anger toward the parent can later be projected onto a romantic partner, creating conflict and emotional distance. Projective identification. Repeating the past in new relationships. Projective identification is a defense mechanism in which individuals unconsciously project their unresolved feelings or aspects of themselves onto another person, who then begins to act in ways that reinforce those projections. This dynamic often unfolds in intimate relationships, subtly shaping how individuals choose and interact with their partners. Attraction to familiar traits in romantic partners. In many cases, individuals are unconsciously drawn to partners who exhibit traits similar to their opposite-sex parent. This attraction may stem from an unconscious effort to recreate familiar emotional dynamics in the hope of fixing unresolved wounds from childhood. For example, a person with an emotionally distant mother might be drawn to partners who are similarly emotionally unavailable, hoping to earn the connection or affection they were denied finally. Alternatively, someone with a controlling father might unconsciously seek out dominant partners, either to repeat familiar patterns or to attempt to reclaim control over their emotional narrative. Projection of unresolved anger. A person who has unresolved anger toward their mother may unconsciously provoke similar feelings in their partner or interpret neutral actions as neglectful, thereby replicating past emotional wounds. This projection reinforces feelings of rejection or frustration that were never fully processed in childhood. Reenactment of parental conflicts. The individual might unconsciously recreate scenarios similar to those experienced with the opposite-sex parent, attempting to win the validation or love that was denied in childhood. This cycle often leads to repeated conflicts in romantic relationships, driven by the unspoken desire to resolve past emotional injuries. Control and power struggles. The individual may attempt to dominate or control their partner as a way of subconsciously retaliating against the perceived powerlessness they experienced with their opposite-sex parent. These power struggles are often rooted in unresolved feelings of vulnerability, leading to toxic relationship patterns. This unconscious attraction can initially feel comforting due to its familiarity, but often leads to repeated patterns of dissatisfaction and emotional hurt unless the underlying issues are addressed. Through projective identification, individuals often repeat unresolved emotional conflicts from childhood in their romantic relationships. Whether through anger, control, or the unconscious selection of partners resembling their opposite-sex parent for revenge, these dynamics reflect deep-seated emotional wounds. Recognizing and confronting these patterns is essential for breaking the cycle and fostering healthier, more emotionally fulfilling relationships. Vengeful acting out, punishing the unconscious parent. When unresolved emotional injuries are not addressed directly with the parent, the feelings of resentment and anger may resurface through vengeful acting out behaviors directed toward romantic partners. These behaviors can manifest as infidelity, engaging in affairs as an unconscious act of retaliation for past emotional hurt, especially if the partner resembles the opposite sex parent in emotional or psychological traits. Emotional withdrawal, withholding affection, validation, or support as a way to punish the partner for the pain originally caused by the parent. Passive-aggressive behavior, using indirect forms of punishment, such as neglect, criticism, or manipulation, to assert control in the relationship. Psychological motivation behind acting out. The individual may not be consciously aware of these motives. Instead, their actions are driven by unconscious desires to get back at the parent through their romantic partner, who serves as a psychological substitute. Why failure to confront the parent intensifies the cycle? When individuals fail to confront their opposite-sex parent about past emotional wounds, the past becomes the present. They carry those unresolved emotions into new relationships, reenacting the same dynamics in an attempt to gain closure. Emotional blind spots develop. Without conscious recognition of the source of their feelings, individuals misinterpret their partner's actions, believing that the partner is the cause of their emotional pain. Relationship sabotage. The individual may unknowingly undermine their relationship to avoid vulnerability or to assert control over emotional discomfort reminiscent of childhood experiences. Breaking the cycle, confrontation and emotional healing. The cycle of projective identification and vengeful acting out can only be broken through direct confrontation and emotional resolution. Confronting the parent. Addressing unresolved issues with the opposite-sex parent, whether through direct conversation, therapy, or internal reflection, can help release suppressed emotions and prevent their projection onto romantic partners. Recognizing projections in relationships. Developing self-awareness about how past wounds influence present behavior is critical. This involves acknowledging when feelings toward a partner might actually be rooted in earlier familial experiences. Emotional processing through counseling or therapy. Working with a counselor or therapist can help individuals process feelings of anger, resentment, or abandonment in a safe environment, reducing the need for unconscious projection. Building secure attachments. Developing healthier, more secure relationships requires vulnerability, empathy, and the willingness to recognize and communicate emotional needs openly. Conclusion: confronting the hidden parent within. The failure to confront emotional injuries inflicted by an opposite-sex parent can have far-reaching consequences for adult romantic relationships. Through projective identification, unresolved anger, resentment, and unmet emotional needs are projected onto romantic partners, leading to destructive patterns of behavior, including infidelity, emotional withdrawal, and power struggles. Breaking this cycle requires not only self-awareness and confrontation but also a commitment to healing, allowing individuals to build relationships that are rooted in genuine connection, empathy, and mutual respect rather than unspoken resentments of the past.